Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Board of Runnemede. I'd like to ask everyone to stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act has been given by the clerk in the following manner: posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Clerk's office, emailed to the retrospect, and the Courier Post. Mr. DeWitt, roll call, please.
Chairwoman Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Aukerly.
Here.
Ms. Bishop. Here.
Mr. Pachowski is excused.
Mr. Vanella.
Here.
Mr. Stone is excused.
Mr. Laverde.
Is excused.
Mayor Kapadas.
Here.
Mr. Ranieri.
Here.
Mr. White.
Here.
Ms. Dodds.
Here.
Mr. Rowan.
Here.
Mr. Pettit.
Here.
And Mr. Knight.
Here.
Before the meeting starts, I would just like to announce that we are going to seat Mr. White in Mr. Stone's place, and we're going to seat Mrs. Dodd and Mr. Pachowski's seat this evening. There is a motion in order for the approval of the minutes of the September 12th meeting as submitted by the clerk. Has each member received a copy? And is there any questions on the minutes? Motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Ranieri, seconded by Mrs. Gushin. All in favor?
Aye.
Do you have any old business? Okay, under new business, regretfully, I will read this. Madam Chairwoman, it is with regret that I inform you that due to my new work hours, I am forced to resign from the Runnemede Planning and Zoning Board. It has been an enlightening experience serving our community, and I have gained a great appreciation for the work all of our members do and in much unheralded capacity. Best of luck to all board members as you continue to put Runnemede first and strive to enhance improvements to our town for the good of all. Thank you for my opportunity to serve. Sincerely, Larry Stone. So with regret, we will move to accept his resignation, and we will be reappointing someone in January who will be fulfilling his term with our alternates. Next, we have Resolution 18-15, resolution memorializing bulk variances and permission to construct a detached garage at 43 South Woodland Avenue. Mr. Rowan.
That's correct. We need a motion tonight to memorialize that resolution. As stated, we granted a variance to permit Mr. Starks to construct a 30 by 36 foot dimension garage, and he's permitted to build the garage up to 18 feet.
I make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Kapadas, second by Mr. Aukerly. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Freeman.
Yes.
Ms. Gushin. Yes. Mr. Vanella.
Yes.
Mr. Aukerly.
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
And Mayor Kapadas.
Yes.
6 ayes.
Very good. Next, resolution 18-16. This is a resolution memorializing a use variance at 102 East Demons Bridge Road for a dance studio. Can we have roll call, please? I'm sorry, we need a motion on the floor.
Take a motion.
Ms. Gushin?
Second.
Mr. Vanella, can we have roll call, please?
Mrs. Cleon.
Yes.
Ms. Gushin. Yes. Mr. Vanella.
Yes.
Mr. Aukerly.
Yes.
And I don't know if there's anybody else that can vote on that.
No.
Correct? I don't know unless
Yeah,
somebody.
Mayor,
Did you sit
I
in?
understand.
He sat for Larry.
Is that for Larry? So I can.
Mr. White.
Yes, Mr.
Mr.
White.
White?
Yes.
Okay, five.
Five ayes, right? Okay. Next is resolution 18-17, a resolution memorializing a use variance to permit adult/senior housing age 55 and over at 109 East 9th Avenue. Motion on the floor.
Make a motion.
Mr. Aukerly, seconded by Ms. Dodd. Roll call, please.
Chairwoman Cleaver?
Yes.
Ms. Gushin? Yes. Mr. Vanella?
Yes.
Mr. Aukerly?
Yes.
Did you sit in for that one too?
Mr. White.
And Mr. White?
Yes.
We have also received a letter from Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Sweeney is the owner of Anthony's Water Ice, who has been selling Christmas trees on that property that he owns on Evesham Road for a number of years. He would like us to approve his intention to do that this year. Is there any objection to that?
No, myself and the zoning officer, we talked about that we should just have a simple application that could go through the zoning office, so it doesn't have to come from the planning board or the council anymore. As long as it's a permitted use and it's not going to be a problem, I think we can do that next year. So hopefully this is the last time we have to do this.
So Joyce, you'll notify him that we've talked about it and he's okay with that, okay?
Now, can I make a motion?
Yes, you can.
I'll make a motion.
All right, Mr. Ranieri,
Second.
Mrs. Gushen, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? They approved. Next, we have application 18-10. This is an application for a bulk variance to install a fence on block 152, lot 11.01 at 3630 Davis Road. The applicant wanted to step forward and be heard. Good evening.
Wait, Greg, would you raise your right hand? The testimony you're about to give this board tonight, that you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give this board tonight is accurate and truthful to the best of your knowledge, is it? Yes. Just tell the board what you want to do.
I got France.
No, yes.
It looks like Greg's proposing a 6-foot fence around his property that fronts Davis and is on the corner property of, what's this road here?
Sunset.
Sunset.
Read those.
And it doesn't look like he's going beyond the front of the building, the main residential building.
That is correct.
I think our ordinance says 6 foot, but along a front yard, 4 foot. So I guess that's why you're coming in.
That's correct,
Because
yes.
it's a corner property. We usually say that it's 2 front yards.
Right.
So the board will have to make a determination of whether or not it's going to be permissible. Otherwise, seems that he's in compliance with our ordinance, except for that section of the fence that he's proposing along Sunset. Is that correct, Greg?
That is correct. Basically, we want to go to our property line, and that's roughly 10.5 feet from the street on Sunset.
What type of fence is it? You don't have a picture here?
It's going to be, it's going to be a
Vinyl?
6-foot vinyl fence, yes.
White.
White, it's going to be white.
It'll be solid vinyl?
It's going to be white, and then there's going to be black spindles on the top.
But I mean, the whole bottom of the fence is going to be solid, it's not going to be...
That's correct, yes.
How far away from our ordinance says you can't install a fence 2 feet from the sidewalk. And from your survey, I don't know if the board can determine, there is no sidewalk fence? Okay.
How far are you from the property line, your side? No?
It's about 10.5, the property line is about 10.5 feet from the street. I got pictures as well.
So it's going to be 10 feet from the...
Inside the property line? Yeah, okay, I see.
So I visited, just letting everyone know, I visited this site because it's around the corner from my house. And I walked the property with Greg and I, and what he explained was that he intends to put a pool back there. He has 2 little girls, and they just put a nice patio. Derek, who was just here, put a patio in there. So the question is on these streets, because I live on, so it's Mr. Hoppley, we don't have sidewalks, there's no curbing. But we do interpret the ordinance that the corner property is 2 front yards. So that the zoning officer has said that point of the house is where the fence would go. The problem with that is it would cut the side yard, which is what he considers his rear side yard, in half. So my opinion was, as long as the neighbors didn't have a big deal with it, and it doesn't look like there may not be any neighbors here, there might be, if there was maybe no objection. It's not real close to the street, so it's not going to block anybody. We've had that problem before. Driveway issues, as long as there's no residents that have any issues with it, I really think this is the one case where this actually kind of works. We've granted this before, extensions of 6-foot fences. I don't see us ever putting curbs, I don't see us ever putting sidewalks, and there's enough room there that if we do put the sanitary sewers down there, we could bring it down the side. He doesn't need it because he's connected with neighbors, but the rest of the homes on Sunset don't have septic system.
Keith, what's your thoughts on the site triangle?
Well, if there's no concern, like you say, with any of the neighbors, as far as...
What's your opinion?
The only issue, I guess, to clarify with Dave, what will be the setback, since there is no sidewalk? As far as a 2-foot setback, if there is a sidewalk.
From the sidewalk. Would you agree to 10, it looks like 10 and a half feet from the property line?
Yes, from the property line.
And do you know where that property line is? Is that right here?
No, you're putting it right on the,
Oh, right, no, I'm putting it right on the
He's
property.
putting it on his
Property line is about 10 and a half feet
the
from.
property line is 10 and a half feet from the street. So there is enough room if we did put a curb and sidewalk, there's 10 and a half feet, which is enough to do it, but I don't
So
see
he
this.
could,
I got it.
to install on property line.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, Brandon. He's got photos.
Which is 10 and a half feet from the...
You want to hand those pictures up?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So if there was a sidewalk 10 and a half feet from the street, like you'd still have 2 feet.
It would be enough?
I would try that. Yeah, usually it's 4 feet from the street
Street.
to the sidewalk, that's another 4 feet.
So you're basically right there.
2.5 feet.
Okay, so this is where you'd be putting it, correct?
That is correct, yes.
I mean, the only thing we may do someday is put curbs down there because there is some drainage issues, but even that, I don't think.
So if there was a sidewalk installed, we still have the 2-foot setback?
Yes. The standard design practices, yes.
Yeah, and this way it doesn't cut any trees down, right? It saves the trees there. That's the marker. That's the marker closest to your neighbor, right?
That is correct, yes.
Oh, and didn't you explain that it was going to protect the holly? Were you going to go around the holly?
It was going to be before the holly, yes.
Okay, because you're making
I'll
a-
take that down.
You're making a big square here, though. You were just going to go around the holly. I mean, I think that's not.
It was going to go before that, yeah, it's going to be.
Yeah. And I think as long as it doesn't go, it stays on the property line, I think that's okay.
It has to be within the
It
property.
has to be on the property, so that's it. As long as it's on the property.
Yeah.
Hey, wait a second. We've had a few fences put on other people's properties. We've had that happen already. You remember that?
Yeah, why not?
And I will say this, so you should know this, if you are putting it to protect for a pool, there is no permit fee for fences for pools, is that correct, or just a zoning application?
It's just a zoning application.
It's zoning only,
Well-
if the fence is for security of a pool. There's no construction.
There is a construction if it is for the pool.
It is for the pool.
Yes.
I thought there was a waiver if it was
Well, so, you know, because the construction code, it has to meet provisions for a barrier.
It has to be a waiver.
Right.
Closing gates.
The zoning aspect, see what happens is the construction does not determine the position of the fence, just to see if it's in compliance with the barrier. The zoning application is showing the fact that the fence is installed on the property.
And the construction is the closing gates and all that.
Self-closing gates and direction of swing and everything like that. So both of them are required, one for location, one for compliance.
Any more questions from the board?
You're saying that it's 6 foot high, and then what's on top of it?
No, the fence is 6 foot, but below that would be spindles that see through.
So the maximum height is 6, but there's a little decorative top.
Yeah, you'll be able to see through below that.
John, you didn't write a letter, but do you have anything else to add?
No, I have no input.
Okay. Mr. Rowan, do you have anything else to add? At this point in time, we're opening it up to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this application only, please come forward and be sworn in.
Seeing no one, I make a motion to close the public portion.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Kapadas, second by Mr. Vanella. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So,
What the board would make a motion on, would be voting on tonight, would be a variance from the provisions of 395-15 subsection 5, which requires that any side yard fences be at least 2 feet from the sidewalk. Representation and testimony that the fence will be installed on the property owner's property line, 10.5 feet from the street line, which would give adequate distance if ever the borough did put a sidewalk in that location. And Also a variance from, we have 395-15, where a fence along a front yard property, front line is limited to 4 feet, giving him permission to construct a fence 6 feet. And it looks like since he is going to be putting a swimming pool in, that's not an unreasonable request. And we'll think of that favorably.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor to approve?
I have
I'm
a
sorry,
question
yeah.
with the interior property line of your house. I know there's a house next to you.
Yes.
And it looks like it runs, maybe it's just a typo, or whatever you've drawn, but like towards the backyard, it runs right on the property line.
You're talking,
Between you and the house on Davis, you're gonna run right on that line.
you're.
Yeah, I think it's not wrong.
Okay, so it's just,
And there's plenty of room between that.
It's on an angle, even though.
no, yeah, I didn't do that.
Weird shape.
But you're gonna be on the property line all the way.
That is correct, yes.
All right.
Any other questions? Is there a motion on the floor to approve this application?
I make a motion to approve this. Assessment.
A second.
Mayor Kapata, seconded by Mr. Bennell. May we have roll call, please, Joyce?
Chairwoman Kleehammer.
Yes.
Ms. Fusion. Yes. Mr. Vinella.
Yes.
Mr. Alderly.
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
Mr. Pappas.
Yes.
Mr. White.
Yes.
And Ms. Dodds.
Yes.
All right, good luck with that, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So you still have to go to the zoning officer.
Do that now, or?
He's,
Tomorrow.
He's good for
Tomorrow. Okay.
with your survey.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Good luck, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have application 18-11. This is an application for a bulk variance to enlarge a shed on block 101, lot 15 at 335 West Evesham Road. Applicant, please come forward and be sworn in.
Mr. Mark, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give this board tonight is truthful and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
It looks like Mr. Marks is planning to expand the existing shed, an 8-foot extension, and it looks like he needs a bulk variance for a side yard where our ordinance requires a 7-foot setback, and I'm presuming this is in an R1 zone. If it's an R2, R3, I think it's 10 feet required. R1, okay, we're 7 foot's required. It looks like he's seeking a variance of 1.58 feet, is that correct, Mr. Tom? Is that where you're gonna put the shed?
They want to come in and put the shed there.
No, the extension.
Yes. They want to put the shed's here.
All right, let's see, what they have, what the board has to know, how many feet are you gonna be away from the property line?
One of the, with the shed now, it's,
so it's 1.58.
Is it one,
Yeah.
is it this measurement here?
So he's just gonna continue.
1.58?
It's about 18 inches between the shed and your property line?
about that, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe about 2.5 to 3 foot, I think.
Well, if,
Only looked at because your neighbor's fence is not on, your neighbor's fence is a foot onto on their property.
Yeah.
You can see that, see it's on there. They did not put the fence on the property.
well,
So you're
we
looking
should
to
have-
maintain the side yard setback that exists today?
Yes, sir.
And what is,
Shed for?
and what's that, 1.58 feet, I guess?
Okay. But it's not getting any closer to the side yard.
Right, it's just running consistent with the shed that's existing there now.
So it's a shed, it's not a garage, I think. Because it looks like it lines up with your driveway, but it's just a shed.
Yes, it is.
Just use it for more storage. What do you need?
Put my car in it.
Oh, you can fit it.
Yes, it can. It's a small car, it's a sports car.
Are there any questions from members of the board? Professionals, any questions? Mr. Pettit did not do a letter on this, it's just a resident requesting a variance. Mr. Rowan?
Oh, no. It's a public.
Yeah, okay, you have any questions?
Now, just so when we do the resolution, I think we, if 1.58 feet is, if that's what he needs, we should be saying, put that in the resolution, because that's,
Okay.
apparently, if he's going to keep with the line in the existing shed, apparently that's what he needs.
Keith, did you see any problems when you went out there?
No, I didn't visit the site.
Oh,
He
all right.
came in.
Okay.
advising, that it would have to be a variance.
Okay.
You're allowed to put bigger, if you call it a garage, she's allowed to put it bigger, isn't it? It's a garage, it's allowed,
Well, he's indicating it's not close.
but not close, right? So it's the same variance.
You go higher.
Yeah.
Go higher, you just can't go bigger.
Short of it.
Footprint to the- All right, so at this point in time, we'll open the meeting up to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this application only, please come forward and be sworn in.
Seeing no one, make a motion to close the public portion?
Okay, motion by Mayor Kapat, second by Mr. White, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Owen.
You'll be voting on a bulk variance tonight in an R1 zone where a 7-foot side yard setback is required. The applicant has requested that he expand the existing shed and have a side yard, continue the existing side yard, which is pre-existing for the existing shed there. And the 8-foot extension can be built within 1.58 feet of the side yard between lots. We'll find out which lots they are, but between the two properties. But what's this property next to you? You're number 335? And do you know what, is this 333 or 337? All right. We'll find out.
All right, is there a motion on the floor to approve this application? Mr. Vanella?
Second.
All right, second by Mrs. Gushen. May I have roll call, please, Joyce?
Chairwoman Klein.
Yes.
Ms. Bush. Yes. Mr. Vanella.
Yes.
Mr. Alberly.
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor Kapadas.
Yes.
Mr. White. Mr. White and Ms. Scott.
Yes.
Okay, good luck. Thanks for coming in this evening.
Appreciate your time.
Oh, you're more than welcome, sir. Take care. Okay, our final application for this evening is 18-06. This is an application by PSC&G for a site plan for block 149, lot 5 on East Sham Road to build a freestanding bathroom structure, 3 60-foot lighting masts, and miscellaneous electrical processing equipment. Hi, good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chairman. My name is Thomas Troutner. I'm an attorney from the law firm of Keys, Shahanian, and John Tomasi, here on behalf of the applicant Public Service Electric and Gas Company. As just described, we're here on an application for preliminary and final site plan approval to upgrade and expand an existing substation to provide better reliability and increased capacity to meet existing and future demands for commercial and residential uses, and that'll be addressed in testimony tonight. The property issue is lot 149, lot 5, located at, or commonly known as 892 East Evesham Road. There were 2 variances that we're seeking in conjunction with the approvals tonight. Section 395-15, period A2, to permit a fence height of 8 feet where the max permitted is 6 feet. And section 395-15, period A3, to permit a fence with barbed wire where barbed wire is not permitted pursuant to the code. We're additionally seeking, I should mention, a submission waiver from requirement of section 331-5512, which typically requires that the location of the existing rock outcrops, high points, water courses, depressions, ponds, marshes, trees with a diameter of 4 inches or more, as measured 3 feet above the base of the trunk, and other significant existing features, including previous flood elevations of water courses, ponds, marsh areas, as determined by the survey, be indicated. This is an 11-acre site that's already been developed with a substation.
Challenging.
Yeah, yes, trying to get it all out. So we're requesting the waiver in that the limits of the proposed development are such that.
You can just do the first 10 acres.
So is that?
You can just do the first 10 acres.
Fair. So Tonight, in terms of our application, we have 3 witnesses. Joseph Graff, our project manager, who will generally explain the project and why we're doing this. Steve Hansen from Burns & McDonald. He's a civil engineer. He'll describe the existing conditions and the proposed improvements. And then we have Kat Perrin, professional planner from D.W. Smith Associates, who will provide the planning testimony and demonstrate how the application, in our opinion, meets the statutory criteria to enable the board to grant the variances requested. And there's a report dated October 1st, 2018 from the tenant group. Initially, the report was dated July 31st, 2018, and was updated. The outstanding comments addressed, particularly in the October report that remain, will be addressed during the testimony this evening. And then, last but not least, there's a couple approvals which we've obtained, which I would respectfully mark if we could. There's a NJDEP freshwater wetlands letter of interpretation received and dated August 20th, 2018 that I submit marked as A1. NJDEP flood hazard area verification received and dated August 28th, 2018 that I submit marked as A2. The Camden County Planning Board issued a letter of no interest and waiver of further review. We have that letter received and dated July 31st, 2018. I marked that A3. And the Camden County Soil Conservation District certification we have received and dated August 6, 2018. Scan that in and mark that as A4. What we don't have is we're going to apply to NJDCA for putting in steel approved for the electrical equipment and lighting mass support, and that will be subsequently addressed if the board is so inclined as to grant our requested approval. So with all of that, I would ask that Joseph Rapp board, with your permission, Madam Chair,
What
be
we're
sworn
going to
in.
do, we're going to do a group swearing in.
Oh, easy.
He's going to give testimony tonight. Please stand. John, you also, you're going to give some testimony on this one, too? Yeah, I'm going to, I should be swearing. Folks, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give this board this evening is truthful and accurate to the best of your knowledge.
I do.
Just to be real clear, real quick, Mr. Pettit, we are going to disregard your letter of July 31st and be replaced with the letter of October 5th.
Yes.
Thank you.
We've been working with their engineer on our issues that we raised, and we narrowed it down.
I just wanted to make sure it's supposed to be an addendum to it, but this is now the entire
Yes.
review letter. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure. And as for our first witness, Mr. Graff, who's about to come up, we're qualifying him, or we're bringing him up as a fact witness, so we won't seek to qualify him as an expert. So, Mr. Graff, you've been sworn in, can you just give the board the benefit of your sworn in and what the fact?
I currently work at PSNG as the district project manager. I worked with the company for 6 years,
And,
You're going to have to speak up.
8 p.m.
and what are your duties and responsibilities as it relates to this project?
As a project manager, I walk a project through, pretty much start to finish, working through permitting, engineering, finally construction, site plan.
And you're, in that capacity, you're fully familiar with this application as it's being filed and considered by the board this evening?
Yes, I am.
Now, could you describe how the need for this project was determined, which brings us here tonight?
A little bit of background on Runnemede substation. It was originally built in 1963. It currently provides over 10,000 customers in the area with electric. PSCNG does annual audits on our network to make sure that we're in compliance with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission's guidelines and standards. After one of these such audits, it was noted that Runnemede substation needs to be updated in order to continue to provide reliable energy to its customers.
And in terms of the providing service for customers in the area, that includes not only residential commercial customers, but also schools, police stations, and first responders, that type of thing?
Yes, that's correct. Runnemede substation does power 9 schools and 5 police stations and fire stations in the area.
Sure. So now, with that being said, can you give the board an overview of what this project entails, and we'll have an engineer get into real particulars, but the overview.
Yeah, so generally the overview is we will be removing the building from site. Building is an old control building that's no longer in use. It needs to be removed to make room for the electrical equipment. We will be expanding the station to bring in a new 69 kV line and to reconfigure the station to a more reliable configuration. With the expanding of the station, we will be bringing in new station lighting. We will be adjusting the road around it. We will be installing the 3 lighting masts, I believe you mentioned earlier. And
Security fencing.
security fencing, that's correct. We will also be expanding security fencing and putting in new bathrooms in place like we're going to be demolishing the old building.
Now, can you explain when the project is slated to begin, the anticipated completion date, and duration of construction?
We are expecting to mobilize on site, start bringing in our material, and start prepping in July of 2019, with construction activities starting fall of 2019 and ending the spring of 2020.
And once that starts, can you explain where the materials will be staged and the location of contractor park and that type of stuff?
There is ample room at the substation itself, both within the fence and outside in the parking lot for the parking of all contractors and storage of all material. If we do have material that's going to be stored outside the fence, it's going to be secured either behind temporary security fencing or inside the fence boxes.
And is there going to be construction trailers that was located on site?
Yes, we're expecting to have 4 to 5 construction trailers on site.
And you'll submit information and obtain any required permits from the construction officials before any of that takes place?
Yep, absolutely.
Chairman, actually, I don't have any more questions, but certainly.
Is there any questions for this witness?
So this station was built in 63 or something?
Yes, that's correct.
And you haven't done anything since then?
No, I'm not sure of all the work that's been done. I know there was a project maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I don't know the exact date.
And it covers, I assume, Runnemede and like Glendora, parts of that?
Yeah, it's
Just curious.
Magnolia, Runnemede, and Wilson.
Yeah, Gloucester County.
That's correct.
Okay. And the barbed wire fence, I know we might get in that, but is that what's there now?
Yeah, there's
There are
currently
parts-
barbed wire fence there, and I know Kathy Herring is probably going to give you more specific
Okay.
information on that.
Any other questions for this witness? Okay, Mr. Graff, thank you very much. We'll
Thank you.
we'll call you if we have any other questions. Okay, sir? Thank you very much.
Chairman, with your permission, I'd ask Steve Hansen from Burns McDonald to come forward, and he will seek to qualify as an expert.
I don't know if they want the east put somewhere else.
Maybe I'll stand. So, Mr. Hanson, you've already been sworn in, but can you give the board the benefit of your employment, your licenses, and your qualifications in the field of civil engineering?
Sure, I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. I am a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey. The license is current. I currently work for Burns McDonald Engineering in Kansas City, Missouri. I have testified in front of several boards, particularly Hamilton, Camden, Scotch Plains, Newark, Lawrence, Patterson, and Harrison in the past.
And you're a licensed professional engineer
Yes,
in New Jersey?
Yes.
I'm sure that the board has questions about qualification. I would see that Mr. Hanson qualified as an expert in the field of civil engineering.
I accept that.
Thank you. So we can, actually give you both exhibits, but we'll mark this exhibit is an aerial. You can mark it as exhibit A5. And we actually also have a site plan from our package, which is colored, we can mark that as A6. But Mr. Hanson, utilizing the aerial and of course the site plan, if you would like, could you please orientate the board to the site and describe the existing conditions?
Sure. So what we have here is existing condition aerial of the site. The site is designated as Block 149, Lot 5. It's located at 892 Sham Road, Camden County, 544 down here. The site is located in the public quasi-public lands district where public utilities are considered to be a permitted use. The entire property is approximately 11.88 acres. Access access to the site is gained down here from East Duchenne Road to the station yard. There's the entrance here, there's the drive that goes in, and it's secured by a locked fencing gate. The area where actually the station equipment is and all that, there is buffers and trees, there's 150 feet of woods to the north, to the property line. There's 260 feet to the east. And then we have about 280 feet to the west, so that's all the tree buffers around here on those two sides.
Actually, and Steve, just to interrupt you for just 1 second, we should also mention the photograph that you're referring to. It says an indication of marking. It's from the New Jersey Office of Information Technology, dated 2015. Does this photograph accurately depict the approximate condition of the site as it exists today?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So I was cutting you off.
Oh, okay. We also have Otter Branch Creek that runs along here on the east side. There are some residential areas over, on the outskirts of past the property line that currently exist. Currently, the 11.88 acres is partially developed land that contains currently a level crushed stone surface that encompasses the existing station, which is unmanned, and has 2 small one-story control house buildings, as well as several pieces of equipment on concrete pads. The site is fully enclosed by a 7-foot high plus 1-foot barbed wire chain link security fence, this portion here. The station yard and gravel access drive occupy approximately 11% of the lot. So this area here, pointing here, that's currently developed, and then the road, that's only 11% of the actual property. Like I said, the current site is fully enclosed by a 7-foot high plus 1-foot barbed wire chain link security fence in its existing condition. The remaining 89% of the lot consists of transmission utility poles that carry overhead wiring out in and out of the station for electric distribution.
So now, Steve, I was going to refer you actually to our next exhibit, which I think we mentioned we've marked as A6. It's the site plan sheet.
Yes.
Could you describe the proposed improvements that are being proposed for the station?
Sure. So, as you know, the project, we're expanding and upgrading the electrical service to 69 kV circuits that will interconnect this substation to several other PSED stations in the Canyon County area. The expansion, you can kind of see here in the gray, is the existing currently developed portion of the station, and the new pink is going to be where we're expanding it. We're going to have an existing 1-story control house that will be removed to make room for new electrical equipment. That existing control house is right here, because there's 2 control houses, this one, this is the one that's getting demolished, this one's staying. Which was also mentioned, we're going to have a new freestanding prefab bathroom building that will be connected to the existing septic and water. So right now, the water and sewer go into a bathroom in this control house, but since it's getting demolished, we're putting in a new bathroom building. Those same utilities will just slightly alter to connect to the new buildings to the side. We're going to be also installing some new station lighting. The lighting plan does comply with ordinance requirements. The lighting will continue to be mounted on equipment and supports pointed downward. They'll be dusk to dawn. Other lights will be pole mounted at heights between 8.5 to 10 feet. Any uplighting that we have is for task only. It will be used when someone has to actually go out there and work at night, and they will be turned on and off manually. However, if someone forgets to turn them off, they have timers that will shut off.
Great.
The proposed fencing that we're putting in complies with the National Code for security fences applicable to this project. The fence line, the existing fence line runs right along here, but we'll be expanding it out to this area here to accommodate the expanded area.
Mr. Hanson, will that be all new fencing, or we're just going to be adding fencing?
New fencing.
All new fencing?
Yeah, all the existing fencing.
Whole perimeter is going to be new?
Yeah, it's all going to be new.
Thank you.
Let's see here. The fence that we're putting in, that we're replacing, we're replacing it with, again, 7-foot high chain link fence, topped with another 1 foot of barbed wire. There is one section of fence here on the northeast corner that is what we call non-conductive fence, and the reason we're doing that is we've got some sensitive environmental areas here that we're trying to avoid. When you have metallic fencing, you have to have a buffer beyond the fence around it, but when you have a metallic fence, but a non-metallic fence, just basically stop it. I'm not going to get this environmental. We're also expanding the gravel yard to the new fence line, so the gray here is where the current limits of gravel are, so that gravel is going to go out to the new fence. We're going to be putting in a few lightning masts. Currently, there's an internal 16-foot wide driveway that is going to be relocated to accommodate the new equipment. So right now, again, there's a drive that circles around the existing equipment, and since with the new construction, we're going to have to relocate it and bump it out. Where you see this pink shaded. Any of the foundations for existing equipment that are no longer going to be in use, they're going to get tore up, they're going to get demolished.
And Steve, how often is the site inspected for maintenance purposes? I know you mentioned a moment ago about the task lighting.
Sure, on average, once a week, a PSCG employee who drives a mini van or a light duty truck will come on site. The maintenance boys, when they come in, they'll park in the fenced area inside the station. So.
And is any signage proposed?
Yes, there's going to be a substation identification placard that will be mounted on the perimeter fence and hazard warning signs.
Where's that? I'm sorry, where is that going to be located? Inside the facility or not out near Houston Road, right?
It'll be out here. It'll be on that side of the fence here. It'll be on right on the fence, yeah, not out here.
And there was a comment in the October Pettit report made in the prior report too regarding recommendations regarding minimum sloped and paved and non-paved areas. Could you speak to that?
Sure. There will be no paved surfaces. Basically, we use the gravel surfacing at all the PSCG station. That's kind of their standard that we always use. So there is no pavement like asphalt and concrete.
So is the non-paved surfaces, we able to achieve the 2% or recommendation? You have any drainage problems out there today?
There are no drainage problems out there today. We won't be able to do the 2% cross slope, and one of the reasons is the electrical equipment. There's certain height differentials that we can't exceed. If we get too steep of a slope, it causes issues connecting all the equipment. Also, because we have existing equipment here that's going to be tied to the new equipment, we can't have a lot of grade changes. We've got to try to maintain what's out there. We do have a minimum 0.5% slope that goes across the yard, so there will be no standing water or anything. Also, being that it's a gravel surface and not totally impervious like asphalt or concrete, the gravel itself will infiltrate a lot of the water and either infiltrate it or evaporate.
Madam Chairman, I actually don't have any further questions. There's another comment in the Pettit report which we'll address with the next witness.
Any questions for this witness from the board?
I have a question, if you don't mind. Noise level, decibel, operating, is it the same or less than what was there?
I cannot speak to that.
Actually, Joe, can you come back up? I think you can maybe answer that question.
We are not proposing to add any new equipment that's going to add increasing noise levels. So all the equipment that we are going to be adding isn't going to create any noise.
Okay, great.
It's going to be the same as what it is.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
And my one question, is the new equipment, is it much larger, bigger, is it going to be higher? Sorry, I didn't realize that.
No, if you go out to the existing station, you'll see a series of plus working breakers. What we're going to be doing is adding 3 new breakers and adding additional plus work. It's not going to be any higher than what you see there now. It's just going to take up more footprint.
Before you leave, is this all, and I'm just asking because of the population and future projections and things like that, Is it being designed to handle more of a load, similar load, or is it just upgrading the infrastructure of your project?
It's a little bit of both. It's upgrading the infrastructure on the 69 kV for the area. There's actually a lot of work going on throughout Camden County to do that. But by bringing in the additional 69 kV line position into Runnemede, it's also going to help with future loading that we see coming out of there.
Thank you.
Any other questions for this witness?
I just have one. What about what's going on with all the tree cutting the trucks to the parking lot?
I know there's tree cutting crews that I've seen on the lot there. I know that they're not working with my project specifically. They're working with a different branch of KCNG.
They were working behind Runnemede Twiddle this week at the high tension wires.
I mean, are they parking just on the dirt back there? Are they parking on, so now, I know that the site is not paved. I believe the park trucks is going to say. They can park back there.
So this facility, I think the question is, though, this facility used to store other vehicles? They use it as like a
No, it's not a man.
way
It's not
station?
used for storage. There are different groups of KCNG. There might have somebody being decided to park the trucks there for one reason or another. However, it's not listed as a managed position, and we don't use it for storage.
Those trucks been stored back there for a while.
No, honestly, that's it's kind of a completely different group from us. I know what you're talking about. I've been out the site and I've seen a few trucks there. But I'm not sure.
Is that property, that's why I'm asking. I mean, is it going to be a storage yard?
No, it's not.
That's kind of what it is right now.
It's not.
So, Joe, fair to say, we're not proposing it as a storage yard, so to the extent that it's been potentially suggested being used as a storage yard, we'll redress that so that it won't be used as a storage yard.
So in other words, those trucks aren't going to be parked there 24/7?
No.
Well, I mean.
And they won't be, correct?
Do you think it's just a project they're working on with Blackhorse Pike? Once they've done that project?
Yeah, and like I said, that those trucks aren't.
They've been there for a long time, at least a year. At least a year.
But they are PSC.
No, they're that ass move.
That's one.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it just concerns me the trucks are being parked on the sand area of the property. I mean, they're going to be stored there, we've got to know that.
Any other questions for witnesses? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Madam Chairman, for our last witness, we have Kathy Garrett from PwC.
Next of all, your last name, Kathy?
Kathy, K-A-T-H-Y, Herring, H-E-R-I-N-G.
Thank you.
Kathy, if you could briefly give the board the benefit of your employment, educational background, and professional experience in professional planning, and just share us if you have as an expert
I'm currently employed at D.W. Smith Associates in Falls Township. I'm the senior project manager, and I run our group that primarily obtains permits on behalf of PSE&G. I earned my bachelor's degree at Duke University and my master's degree in civil engineering from Georgia Tech. I've been a licensed professional planner and licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, and my licenses are current. I'm also a certified municipal engineer.
And you've testified before land use boards in the past and been accepted as an expert?
I have. I provided testimony in Camden, Pennsauken, Hamilton, Union, Metuchen, Atlantic Highlands, Saddlebrook, just name a few.
Madam Chairman, if there are any questions, we'd seek to have her qualified.
We would certainly have her qualified as an expert. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Herring, can you identify the variances again that are requested for the application and yeah, how about it?
Okay. As previously identified, the project is requesting two bulk variances for the proposed security fence. The first is for the proposed 8-foot fence, which consists of 7 feet of chain link with 1 foot of barbed wire, where 6 feet is permitted in the zone. And the second is to allow that barbed wire where barbed wire is not permitted.
And you're familiar with the statutory criteria to be satisfied in order for the board to grant a variance or variances?
Yes, the provision of safe and reliable electric service is recognized as providing a service to the public welfare.
And this is part of the internally beneficial use, which seeks to satisfy the positive criteria or some special reasons?
Yes, it is, yes.
And then if you could also speak to the negative criteria, the two-pronged approach?
Sure. The first proof for the negative criteria is that an applicant needs to prove that there's no substantial detriment to the public good. As previously testified by Mr. Hansen, there won't be any visual impact to the surrounding neighbors. As seen on the aerial, the station is currently surrounded by a wooded buffer, and it will continue to be buffered by those woods. And also, since the electrical substation, which has been deemed as an inherently beneficial use, is required to be enclosed by the security fence. So, as part of, associated with the substation, the fence in itself is considered an inherently beneficial use.
And in terms of the other criteria that the variance won't substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance, could you give a little bit of testimony on that?
The existing use as the electrical substation is a permitted use in this zone, and the fence is required because, for three reasons. It provides security to the fence in itself, it protects the public and ensures the public's welfare, and it's also required or is consistent with the National Electric Code, FERC, and PSE&G standards for security fences.
And so in your opinion, this application meets the statutory criteria necessary in order for the board to grant the requested variances?
Yes, I have a professional planning opinion.
Sure. And then one more thing while I have you up here, I know there was one more comment in the October 5th Pettit group letter concerning a recommendation regarding installation of concrete sidewalk along the property frontage. Could you speak to that comment?
Sure. As mentioned in Mr. Pettit's letter, there was the recommendation of providing sidewalk as part of this project. And in my opinion, it's not feasible for many reasons. The Otter Brook, which borders on the east side of the station, crosses under Evesham Road through culvert, which if a sidewalk was to be constructed, that culvert would need to get extended. And it's a huge undertaking, both from an environmental permitting perspective and engineering. We would have to go to the DEP for a flood hazard individual permit. And their regulations, since it's a stream corridor and it's a flood hazard area, their requirements don't permit. They have a net zero fill requirement. So the whole area where it would be widened would need to be filled to maintain the grade of the road. And then also hydraulically, the characteristics of the stream will be modified. And it just gets to be beyond PSE&G. And as a county road, I think it would be more appropriate as a project for the county to undertake.
And Kathy, to that point, when you say the feasibility in terms of the permitting, is the idea that it's not assured that the DEP would actually permit this to happen?
That is correct. It would need to go past the county for their buy-in, plus also then going to the DEP. And it could take over 2 years, and again, it might not be, it's not a guaranteed approval from the DEP.
So the idea being the county, if the county was to drive that with its political capital and otherwise, that would be
right.
probably the only course to get something like that done?
Right. They would be the better lead for this project, as it is their road, and they would have probably better luck with the DEP getting any kind of permits if it's so inclined to do so.
We have no further questions of those concerns.
So, John, you recommended that isn't there a sidewalk on either side of that?
I believe on the west side.
There's sidewalks on both sides. Just to be clear, I did meet with PSE&G before this project came around. So one of the issues is that, you're right, the county, we all want to have, the term was protect the public. So protect the public to, protect them from the hazards of this location, that's why we look for barbed wire and things like that. So if you paid attention, obviously, this is the only stretch there's no sidewalk. This is the only place along the entire Evesham Road, from the Whitehorse Pike to the Blackhorse Pike, that does not have sidewalk. So we just had a fatality on the Blackhorse Pike just the other day. A pedestrian got struck on the crossing, but sidewalk, there was no situation. But as you know, we're trying to protect people. So, and I understand what you're saying. A couple things I'd like to mention, though, is that the county doesn't do sidewalks. So the Evesham Road is slated to be repaved in 2020. It's on their list. Currently, the county is doing guardrail work on there. So the guardrail in front of your property is also being worked on. And I can give you the name of the county engineer, but I'm sure you guys know who that is. And I understand the difficulties. But what you're saying to us, though, is that this is your property. You guys are there. You're the only property on the entire stretch. The borough has put up hundreds of thousands of dollars to put sidewalks in where there wasn't sidewalk in front of the high school. The day I met one representative from PSE&G out of the property, the children were coming out of the high school and walking both to residencies on Evesham Road that are Runnemede residents, but also in Gloucester Township, because I'm sorry, on the other side of the road there are no sidewalks, if you notice that. So we have a little obligation that we're trying to resolve these issues. We've partnered with the county in the past to do these kinds of things. And I can understand as a public utility, I can't imagine that you can't partner in things like this to get these kinds of things done. And you talk about political capital and things like that. I appreciate all that stuff. Board of Public Utilities, one of your members lives, 1 mile away from here. So, I cannot imagine that this isn't something we can't at least look into. You talk about DEP approvals. Oh, I think you guys are more in tune to getting those approvals than anybody in the state of New Jersey. So, I understand you don't want to spend the money, it's a lot of work and things like that. But what can we do to resolve the one problem that we need to resolve on this piece of parcel that would fix it? And there were 2 other notes I just want to bring out there is, it's an unmanned station, but you have a bathroom there, I understand why. We do have an ordinance that says if we do ever bring sanitary sewer in, you guys would connect to that. So I'm assuming that's not a big deal. And if you think about planning for that, I don't know if it's as simple as having a pipe coming out. But the second thing, if you remember, we did meet with the borough engineer, and the discussion was that you guys had already done the topography, you already had a DEP letter for the property because of the streams and things like that. As I talked about earlier, we are hoping to put some sanitary sewers on those 3 dead-end streets that flow towards this property. So we would ask that you guys would give us an easement allowing us to cross it. Do you want to?
Tom, I can talk to that.
Sure.
If I may.
We should have
Be sworn, please.
Absolutely.
Mr. Dave.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give this board tonight is truthful and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
And just give your name and, I guess you're qualified.
Yeah, you're affiliated.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Timothy Holmes. I'm a licensing project manager for PSE&G. Also a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. A lot of government qualified for engineering testimony, professional testimony. But to speak to we did meet back in November.
Yes.
We did provide to Bach Associates all that mapping, and we put them in touch with corporate real estate. So we can work out, we kind of talked about the needs for the easements for sewer lines, and they're pretty flexible on where they can go through the site. So whenever you guys are ready to talk to real estate, that'll work. And we're actually discussing the fact that it would be nice to know where that is so we could tie our bathroom into that at some point in time, even if it's 4 or 5 years from now.
Yes.
So that's the easy part. I don't think sanitary easement is difficult.
Now, you looked at the sidewalk. We know it's an issue.
I've looked at the sidewalk, and not only from PS as the licensing project manager, but as a 30-year civil engineer. And the problem, the hurdles, and the reason why there's no sidewalk there is because of the physical challenges. I mean, there's a 15-foot drop from, the edge of the road immediately, there's guide rail maybe a foot or 2, and then you have that steep embankment. So The challenge would be to widen that shoulder enough to get a sidewalk in to match the two pieces, the missing link. But then the problem is you got to fill and build retaining walls, most likely some kind of pedestrian barrier on the other side of the sidewalk. And that's a massive undertaking. I mean,
What about bridging?
Kathy, that could be a possibility. You could do some type of bridge, but you'd have to build abutments at each end. That's going to be a challenge. So,
Asphalt.
Well, would you guys be willing to speak to the county and see, you know, if they're gonna be repaving Evesham Road, you know, I hate to say, do we move the curb? Do we move the street? Do we readjust things to do this?
to keep the road cartway, the road bed in the position it is now, to get the sidewalk in, you'd be widening it that way. Now, I don't know what the counties, I'm sure in their mind, their master plan for that road probably someday is a wider road than it is there now.
How could they widen the road if they have to, you know, you have this bridge, this culvert that we're talking about, you can't widen?
They would have to spend some significant cash to do that. Yeah, that's a.
And the only thing we're trying to do is we have 3 communities, Magnolia, Gloucester Township, going to be that traverse this. And the only place that they walk out in the middle of the street is in front of PSE&G's property. It's the only place.
I've witnessed it.
You've witnessed it.
I know.
So the only thing we're asking is, at least I'm asking, I don't like to speak for the town.
For sure.
And even as the town, you know, we're willing to do things. We've spent money to put sidewalks in on our own to do this for there were no sidewalks. And to tell you the truth, if it was simple as just putting a sidewalk in, we would have done it if it wasn't as difficult. I understand, you know, the road was built, but I don't believe that there's not an answer to fixing something. I don't. So, you know, I would only ask that there was a little more looking into this to try to resolve this last big issue. Everything you've asked for, I understand. You know, I understand what you guys are doing. It's fine. But as, you know, good stewards of this property and a public utility, you know, you're one of the few animals in the state that can do this. It's the same bluntly.
Can we get a sidewalk for a second?
You won't get
Because it's going to have a life. That's what
So, I'll give you the qualified answer at the risk of sounding difficult. So we're happy to communicate with the county, work with the county, try and get this done. The only thing we would respectfully request is because of the time to get something like this accomplished and the sort of the lift that Mr. Holmes just testified to, so our willingness to cooperate in good faith and sort of work with the county and try and get this done. We don't want to have that linked as the sidewalk has to get built as a condition of approval with.
I understand.
Tonight.
I don't.
What we'll do is our regional public affairs folks will reach out to the county and we'll get a dialogue open. I mean, we have a lot of information on that property, surveys, wetlands delineated, flood hazard, all that information, and who knows what the county's plans are for the future of that road, and maybe they got something coming down the pike.
Would I be able to ask if you could have myself and our borough engineer at least to be at this meeting, if you could set it up with Ms. Pesica, and then we could at least have it. I agree, a contingency doesn't need to be contingent, except for the fact that you're willing to talk.
Absolutely.
Willing to help us try to resolve this problem in some way.
Because frankly, we have made it a contingency on other Eastern Road properties. Dunkin' Donuts came in 2 months ago, wanted to put a drive-through, and it was one of my contingencies that they did the sidewalk for the high school students. I mean, this isn't a problem with you. This is something that we have been trying to address. I've been on this board about 20 years, and we have been trying to get this done, and you guys are the last holdout.
Mm-hmm.
So I am,
Understood.
I'm very adamant that we try to get this done one way, shape, or form. And Dave, I don't know what our protections are as a board, to assure that this is not just and I'm not trying to be, facetious, but that we don't do a veiled attempt at this, that we actually, have some type of an assurance that this is going
You have a
to
unique
get done.
situation here, Madam Chairman, and I'll tell you what they're proposing, if we look at the statute and case law, is inherently beneficial use to the community also. The testimony seems to be that they haven't really done anything at this substation since 1968.
That's what I'm saying, so what's the big rush to have, if we waited 55 years, I mean, I'm not trying to be smart, I'm just saying, the engineer, he's the one proposing this, correct? Or you're stating this?
It was a suggestion.
Yeah, okay. No, and I'm all for, hey, if it feasibly can't be done, then it can't be done. That's, why, within a reasonable financial,
Well, that's the question.
Well, that's the question.
Anything can be done if you throw enough money.
Yeah, that's true. But,
If it's a situation where DEP won't give them the permit, then I don't know what they can do.
Right.
I mean, that thing's been there for, whatever, 55 years, and the access has been the same, everything has been the same, so.
But our kids have been walking in the street for 55 years, Dennis.
That's right.
That's the problem. We don't want that anymore. We're done with that.
I understand
Again,
that, but like you
concerning
said,
the
too, there's gotta
improvements,
be.
and that weigh that with the beneficial use of them either upgrading the system to provide more efficient electrical distribution to surrounding areas with the need for a sidewalk.
Oh,
Now,
we're not questioning that.
You can make it a condition, and that the applicant will cooperate with with the intent to having sidewalks ultimately installed there. And that they're making a commitment and agreement that they will cooperate with any local, county, state agency, which may be required, to get sidewalks installed in the future. Now, possibly with that condition, then there can be maybe something between PSE&G, the state, the county, or contribution to put sidewalks in. I think, you're correct, and yeah, an applicant is here, and we're going to require them to do it, but remember, this application isn't like benefiting somebody economically like a Dunkin' Donuts. They're a public utility that's trying to upgrade into better service. From what I gather from looking at their plans, it's an enhancement to the system that will be beneficial. But
From our perspective, we're not a traffic generator, we're not a pedestrian traffic generator. So definitely appreciate the positions that you're in, but from our perspective, we're an unmanned electrical substation that kind of sits back in the woods, that we're doing improvements that benefit the general public, and to put the financial burden of that sidewalk, which is, in my opinion, pretty substantial when you look at what has to physically be built and permitted there. That's excuse the language, a big nut. It is. That's why there's nothing there. We all know that, right? You just say that. The missing link is because it's real hard to do. So to work with the town and the county, I think we have the staff to do that with regional public affairs. But to make a financial commitment to get it over the end line, I'm not in a position, I can't, at my level, can't make that commitment. So I don't know how we.
So you're saying, though, that if we were to get some type of approval, you don't have the ability tonight to say that PSE&G would put that sidewalk in?
I do not have that. I would have to punt that over to my project manager. I do not have the ability to do that.
Yeah, so what we're saying is we're certainly willing to set up a meeting, have mayor, municipal officials, and borough engineer, and whoever needs to be at the meeting come to the meeting to try and work with the county to see this happen. But again, to be blunt, we don't want this to be a condition in terms of the sidewalk must be built, and we're taking ownership of getting it built because we can't. And I could make arguments in terms of the linkage between the sidewalk. I think your board's attorney's already advised the board in terms of that pretty well. So
yeah, I wish you were doing more.
So with that being said, hopefully you believe us, you trust us that we will, we'll do what we say we're going to do in terms of facilitating that conversation with the county for the borough to be a part of. But that's probably about as far as we can go tonight in conjunction with this application.
How far would the sidewalk have to extend into Evesham Road to alleviate that whole problem? Because, you know, there are even towns like Haddonfield is on, they have kickouts on the sidewalks.
The traffic calming measures that, I know what you're talking
You know what I mean? So
about.
there's
Traffic
no,
calming.
you know, there's no parking on that area, and then they would actually just.
But we would have to get the approval. See, that's what we're trying to say.
I mean, that's, I think at the last application with the fence, we're talking maybe 4 feet from the edge of the pavement to the sidewalk and a 4-foot sidewalk. So you're probably taking 10 feet, I would think. I mean, you know, Mr. Pettit would know better than that. I mean,
Let me ask you this. I know the property well. Would you be willing to put as much sidewalk in as you could until you get to the buttress? Because you have 100, what is your frontage, 140?
It's 278.
So 278. So the culvert is only about 35 feet of that?
Yeah, but the whole width of that falls off where that guide rail is. All that guide rail's gotta be moved. It's really that whole embankment.
I mean, have you guys been notified that the county was redoing the guardrails? Did you guys get notice of that?
I did, no, I'm not, I mean, other than you mentioning it tonight, I did not, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, they're doing both sides of the road.
I mean, we can have Adam get in touch with the county and sit down with them, and find out what their future plans are and how we can help. But beyond that commitment, I don't know how we can do that with this project.
Yeah, again, all we can say is we'll cooperate and try and, work something out, obviously, as the county tells us what their plans are.
Is there parking now on that section? On that stretch?
What's that?
I was wondering if there's parking on that stretch now.
It's not a no parking area. People can park there. People don't typically park.
But there's enough room for it. So a 10-foot
Some
kick,
people
I
do
mean,
park on each
that's
road.
that's really up to the county, but a 10-foot kick out on that section would, first of all, you know. I mean-
Counties don't like the narrow roads.
Yeah, but it's a pretty wide road, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no.
There's-
I hear you.
There's several ways.
I don't know the answer. I know that's why if you had a simple answer,
I
I
had a
believe you would
simple
have came
answer,
with a.
I would love to say we solved that problem, but it's not simple. And I think the telling story is that's why there's no sidewalk there now, because of the obstacles that have to be overcome to install it.
Yeah, you know, I'm thinking too, because the width of that road, was that at one time like 2 lanes or, you know, there's weird signs over there. Sometimes when you're coming in towards us that say the street narrows. You know what I'm talking about?
Don't know the road, but it does change up and down, yeah. It's
So-
wider in some points. There's no curves
I'm
on some
guessing they
points.
had issues with similar things before when they were, you know.
Lack of planning. They didn't have licensed planners, I guess, in 64.
I've been told by many county engineers they're not in the sidewalk business.
They're not in the sidewalk
I don't understand why. And I find that when they're doing massive road projects and they leave that piece off and say that's up to the municipality. In my town, that's happened a number of times when I've made those arguments as a resident. And the county engineer says, we're not a sidewalk.
And once again, the borough has proven in the past decade that I've been here, we've put hundreds of thousands in sidewalks. So it's not to say that the town wouldn't be willing to partner to get this thing done. It's just, like you said, how do we put it together? It's a little bit above where we normally, just get approval from, we had to get some easements, I think, on Evesham Road the last time we put sidewalks in. There was not sidewalks in front of the high school for 60 years. And we finally got that done. So that's why I see the need for it, even though we drive more than we walk nowadays. I mean, it's up to the board. You know how we're sort of on the same page, but I mean, we don't want to stop you from doing what you want to do. But we're looking for a commitment on this, to look into it.
Again, we're willing to look into it, we're willing to facilitate a meeting and work with the town and work with the county. We just don't want to be blunt, we don't want to quantify it as beyond that statement as a condition of approval in conjunction with this application.
Brandon, and you're fine with that connecting to the sewer, and you're fine with pumping us out?
Oh, absolutely.
I know you gave us all the topography that day.
Yeah, actually, corporate real estates, we have a representative that will work with the borough when they're ready to come up with an alignment. So that's not an issue.
So if, the applicant would be agreeable as a condition of any approval that they would provide any necessary sanitary sewer easements either to the borough or the county, which don't interfere with the operation of the substation.
That we can agree.
Yes. And they would connect to it once we make arrangements. Because we're trying to eliminate septic systems. That's another goal.
Our division operating folks would love that. They're not big fans.
John, let's go to the rest of your review letter. You have anything else to add?
Not much left. We had one checklist item that we recommended a waiver for. They requested a waiver, we're okay with it. That was location of rock crops, high point.
Number 12, okay.
Yeah, and then under general comments, just some informational items and the question of sidewalk, lighting and grading, they addressed with their testimony. That's all we had left.
Are there any questions for Mr. Bennett? I just don't know how we're going to get it. I don't know how we're going to get here. All right, at this point in time, we're going to open this meeting up to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter, only please come forward and be sworn in. Hello, good evening.
One at a time. Oh, you want us to group? Okay.
Yeah.
You want to vote first? Okay.
The Outer Banks Creek
They said it.
Development.
All right, so, first of all, what's your name, dear?
Barbara Aaron,
Thank you, Barbara.
And your address?
21 Kimberly Drive. So we're representing our street. It's when at half of our development on Branch Creek, our backyard space, the substation. So I was here initially with the fence because aesthetically, there really isn't that much of a buffer when the trees, the leaves, when the fall comes in the winter, the leaves go. So we were coming here to ask for evergreens to block this fence. One, now that I hear that the substation is getting increased in size, of course, that's a concern for me health-wise for our residents. How does that affect residents? And would you like to live this close to a substation yourselves? That's my question. To the sidewalk, now that that's come up, that's, to me, their argument is ridiculous. PSE, you require homeowners to put sidewalks in front of their properties, and they have to do it if that's a requirement of the township. If that's a requirement of the township of the property owner, then these being the property owners, that requirement should also, they should also have to adhere to that as well. And if there's a sidewalk leading up to the property on the other side, engineering-wise, come on, guys, really, it can be done. Anybody that does construction, it can be done. And so those are the three concerns I have. And we're here for our street. If you need more residents, regarding this, then we're opposing this right now until we get more information.
But the number one issue that you were concerned about is, when you're talking during the winter season, you're about the back of your house is.
I'm too for the aesthetics. However, now that I hear that it's getting increased in size, I really would like to know what the health issues are being this close to our homes.
Can I just so we can answer the question, when you say health concern, what do you
Well,
mean?
everyone knows if you live near high tension wires, that's a health issue.
No, we can answer that, that's what I.
Okay,
right,
so-
Was there anyone else needed to speak?
Anyone want to state their name and speak? Do you have anything to say, sir?
No,
Dan?
I mean, my name's James Britton, 17 Kimberly Drive. But I just, like, just to not see that. I mean,
Is it the
should be-
lights,
It should
or is
be
it-
back in the
Well,
woods
that's-
where you don't even know it's back there.
With lights that high and I don't know how the wattage will be, obviously a lot. Is that gonna be like where we can't shine in our bedroom windows where?
I do think the testimony said they were down.
In the wintertime at night, you see lights. You know, I prefer not to see.
Yeah, so aesthetics, health reasons, and the sidewalk arguments, to me, I don't accept that.
Instead of
I
the
really
sidewalk,
think that
maybe
the
you
sidewalk
just
can
a
be put in
boardwalk.
there. It's the only place the kids walk to school. That's the only place they have to, and if they're back, it's to the track, whether they are walking or on bike. It's always been a problem there.
So ma'am, when was your, do you know approximately when your home was built?
1994.
1994.
And when did you purchase your home?
1994.
Okay, so and you lived in it? Yes.
Yep.
Were you able to see the fence and substation during the winters? During
No,
the
they did some kind of improvement, as you said, I don't know, you said about 6-7 years ago. And the lights were put up more brighter. But when we moved there, it wasn't like this.
Was there a fence there, you know, or?
I think there was a small chain link fence. And it was closer to the substation.
Yeah, I think planting more trees would hide it better.
So all of our expansion is away from the house, right? So this is Kimberly.
Correct.
So actually, we're reducing this piece here. That side is going away. Our expansion is going this way by about 40 feet and that way. So from the time you built, our station was built in 63. So when you bought your house, the station was there. This fence line never changed since 1994. So where it was when you saw this substation to where it is today, there was nothing that was done that would have changed that.
Okay, but you are building more buildings.
We are, yeah, but we're expanding away from you. We're going this way and this way, not towards you. This is all environmentally sensitive lands all through this area. That's why we're forced to go this way and this way, because we can't go this way because of the stream corridor and the wetlands. Actually, the wetlands line goes right along the edge of the fence. To even plant vegetation in that woods, you'd have to take trees down to put screening in there, and that would be planting in the wetlands. Oh, absolutely, this is all wooded in
I've lived
here.
there for a long time. I know that there's an area here where you can plant trees.
No, the woods are right up to the fence line. I
Well,
mean, I've spent a lot of time walking this area, so
Well,
the trees are right up to the edge of the
well,
fence.
I'm sure they could be planted in and around that area.
It's environmentally sensitive land, so we're gonna cut trees down and plant
No,
more
I wouldn't
trees?
say you should, no, you wouldn't cut any trees down.
But it's
You
all-
would plant additional trees, such as evergreens.
But it's all wooded now. So where would you find space to do
Well, okay, so
that?
I've lived there long enough to tell you when the leaves fall, I have a direct view of that.
I understand that, but
So
it's
then
still woods.
It's, yes, but, right, correct, and I'm not suggesting that anyone, we're not, and no residents are not allowed to take trees down. That is totally understood. What I'm saying is to build some evergreens in and around there for a buffer, in and around, not cut down trees.
Wetlands, and we would have to get permits.
So,
And we're not expanding in that direction.
So Tim, the answer to the question about close by the resident was, could we plant evergreen trees in the location to obstruct the view from their home? The answer is, because that's environmentally sensitive land, we're not permitted to plant evergreen trees. Is that correct?
That's my opinion, yes.
I understand that. No, I'm just trying to, no, I'm just trying to say legally with what we can and can't, what they can and can't do. We can't impose upon them to do something that John, you correct me if I'm wrong, with the wetlands, if they're not allowed to do it. I mean, if that's wetlands, we cannot, as a board, impose someone to do something that's not a permitted
Well,
thing to do.
if the perimeter of that fence is wetlands, and their property line is wetlands as well.
It absolutely is wetlands, that's why we had to get the DEP permits that we
Right,
have in
so I
place.
think-
And I think we testified to the fact that we even changed in pieces of the station fence. Mr. Hanson testified to the fact that we went to non-metallic
Yes.
fence. So the grounding grid doesn't extend beyond the existing fence line. That reason was because there are wetlands back there. So we want the development to stay right where it is right now. We don't want to encroach beyond that. When the station was built in '63, the electrical design was different than it is today, and grounding today, in today's standards, is significantly different. So when you put up a metallic fence, as Mr. Hanson explained, the ground grid has to go beyond that to protect anybody on the outside touching the fence and getting shocked. So it's grounded. But we can put in a metallic fence in pieces of that, so we don't have to do that. It doesn't have to be grounded. That's done because it's environmentally sensitive back there. We don't want to push the development there. It's why, another reason why we had chosen to expand to these directions away from those areas.
I understand. Anyone else in the public? Okay, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming up here, Ms. Aaron, and
So right now,
Ms.
you
Britton.
check till we get more information.
Okay, understood.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Anyone else in the public wishing to speak on this application?
Oh, well.
Seeing no one else, make a motion to close the public portion.
Mayor Kapata, seconded by Mr. Pennell. All in favor? Aye. Okay. I'm going to preface my next statement with, I'm not against this project. I think what you're doing is inherently beneficial to the three neighboring communities that we do have here. I think it's necessary. I think perhaps that the lighting could maybe be addressed with some site plan. I'm not really sure, but I couldn't really hear your conversation with Miss Aaron and Mr. Britton as far as lighting was concerned. I don't know whether some dormers on the back lights towards their properties could be achieved in the site plan, you know. But that being said, I would make a motion that we postpone this tonight until such time as we've had occasion to get the meeting set up with the proper officials, the county, DEP, whoever else is necessary to get involved with this, to have a discussion on these sidewalks and see how that can be achieved. And then, you know, we'll certainly come back and revisit it. But at this point in time, I think I want to put a motion on the floor that we postpone this until we have that meeting. All right. Roll call, we need roll call, please, or Mr. Rowley, do we need a roll call for that?
Well, you're asking for the postponement until the
Until
issue.
we have a meeting about the.
Are we going to initiate that, or?
Well, I think we need to discuss this a little bit. You want to address this, what she's asking for?
Just a meeting is what she's asking for, is that right? So that
Yeah, have the meeting and see what they're going to do.
See what the county, or?
Their concern was they don't know what the county's going to give them,
Right.
how everyone else is going to be able to get DEP approvals. So let's find out. Let's find out what can be approved. You know, we have to get this done. It's the only.
I mean, are they going to initiate that, or are we going to initiate that? John's going to initiate that in this meeting, or?
Let's see what they say.
I haven't heard of it.
This is the issue.
What the letter?
So, Anne's going to take this.
And this is.
That's the choice.
So we can, or be in a position to consent to extending the time for the board to act to accommodate that type of adjournment, but we would like to request that we come back in December. We believe that within the next approximate 60 days, we can get the type of meeting that's being looked for.
That would be fabulous.
So, yeah, that's awesome.
Is that, you want 60 days? I mean, we could
Just,
try.
you got the league coming up in November?
You guys, you know better than
Yeah,
me.
so figured December, we can do that, we have time.
You know, whatever, and you'll be,
I don't believe the board has any problem with the application other than the concerns of the residents. I don't know.
We'll separately also
We're
attempt to address the
gonna-
resident concerns in the interim as well.
But you're asking for 2 variances, I understand.
yeah, I
It's a low.
don't think anybody has a true, I mean, I'll speak for myself, and the 2 variances are not my concern. I think it's, you know, public safety to do what you're doing there, I'm fine with that. But I also think it is not public safety not to get the sidewalks in. Because one child's life, to me, is worth more than any project. And we're very serious, and we have been very, very proactive. We spent a lot of money trying to get this done. Like I said, I've been on this board about 20 years. We've been trying to get this done piece by piece by piece, and we're just about there. And we just don't want any kids walking in the street.
Understood. You know, we want to be good neighbors and citizens, so that's why we'll consent to adjourn and we'll get the meeting set up and hopefully.
And you'll notify, who are you going to notify on the borough end?
So we'll notify the mayor and borough clerk, and then obviously whoever needs to come to the meeting from your end, we'll.
Bach Associates, right?
Yeah, we can have meet at the county, meet here.
Meet at the county. Okay, let's put it on there, Joe.
And Tom, by this adjournment, you're agreeing to, so you're waiving any automatic approval.
That's correct.
Any further action needed, Mr. Rowan?
And we don't have to go through the whole
No,
testimony
it's
again.
just, the matter of this matter is going to continue until December for further information to be considered by the board.
Yeah, and we request a continuance without further, need
Yeah,
public
no,
notice.
they won't have to be published.
That's right, thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point in time, we're going to open up the meeting to, I'm sorry.
Yeah, make an announcement
Yes.
here, that would be carried.
Okay, just so all the members of the public know what has transpired is the applicant has agreed to get a meeting together with the county, the DEP, all the people that are going to be necessary to facilitate the sidewalks. And our representatives will be at that meeting as well as the representatives. And we're going to try to find out exactly what can and can't be done. And that's going to be revisited. They're going to come back here in December. It will not be renoticed. So just be sure if you want to hear what transpired in these meetings that you are here in December.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman,
It's okay.
full candor of the board, I don't know that we can get the DEP in a meeting in the next 60 days. So
Okay.
County.
Understood. That's fine. Right. Okay. So at this point in time, we're going to open the meeting up to the public. This is our good and welfare portion of the meeting. Anyone wishing to speak on any matter whatsoever, please come forward to the microphone and state your name and be heard.
Make a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close by Mr. Arpley, second by Mrs. Tushin. All in favor? All right. All right, with that, it is 8:34. A motion to adjourn. Mr. Arpley?
I'll second.
And Mr. Ranieri. Meeting adjourned 8:35.